All right, universe, we are back again, and this is another episode of Articulate Barbarian. And welcome, my name is Alex Soto, I'm your host, and we have today, whatever, let's see, what is today? We're going to do is timestamp, because everyone bitches about how tired I look, depending on what night. So it's right before the show, and it's 5 minutes to 6, and it is, what is it, October what? No, it's not. I retire on the 6th. That means today's the 5th. It's the day before I am retiring from corporate America and chasing the dream.
What you gonna do, bro?
Fuck off. Fuck off. At least for a month, I'm gonna fuck off.
Do that and still be employed.
Yeah, but I'm tired of it. We could discuss that as we get into it. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce my guest. Y'all didn't think we were gonna be bringing some hard hitters. Well, this guy right here is Eric Dowis. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Dowis.
But
I'll answer anything, bro.
All right. And he's AKA, and we're going to talk about that too, he's known as Dale on the comedy scene. And I can honestly say, being that you've done the cruises before, right?
Yeah.
So that makes you an international comedian, an internationally touring comedian.
Absolutely. If you talk about performing outside the country, that's true.
Because the last guy I had, we said he would stand on one line and tell jokes to Canadian border guards. So anyhow, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for coming out. Man. Let me tell you something. I want to tell the story about how we first met.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is a lesson. I try to bring as many lessons as we can from all age groups, but this is what I think would be so interesting is our paths crossed once before. Yeah. When I first opened up my open mic, it was literally my first time, and I have no backstory in who these comedians are and who they are and what they're doing and what they're about. So I get a friend of mine says, hey, I got a guy who wants to come out. So I got connected with him, and here this guy shows up right before the thing goes on, and I have no idea what tact is or if there's any politics. I'm just doing my thing, ratting it off, and something happened, and without getting into detail, we just kind of butted heads. Yeah. And it ended in a weird way.
Well, we did, and I did. Well, you were cool.
I'm just like, all I say is I saw a point where everyone had a decision to make at that moment. Everyone who's in their life, and you know the thing about it is I felt like there was more to this guy than what I was seeing when we were having that. And the thing is
moment for me.
Right, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, but we can get into that. We'll get into that as we proceed. But the bottom line is, this guy was laid on my heart from the time he stormed off, and finally we got reconnected. He reached out to me, and at the same time I was like, man, if this guy was to ever call me. So we immediately bromance it back. I said, look, man, I'm not mad at you. I also, because I follow him on Facebook, I was watching and I was seeing what was going on in his life, and I said, man, this guy's got a lot on his plate. So the thing about what we're trying to do here, and about what I'm trying to do, when I had my last interview, this amazing lady that owns this magazine interviewed me, and she was asking me, and I said, really what I want to do is just be nice to people.
Right.
Man, I am seeing so much. When I came on the scenes in January, not knowing what to do, I started on the open mic scene, and I got to work with those wonderful millennials that are out there running those open mics, and I'm just like, man, somebody missed some lessons in just being a gentleman and being a lady. Not that they're inappropriate, they just rude.
Well, yeah.
So we ended up getting back together. Right, well, yeah. Like grown-ups, we got back together and we made it straight. And lo and behold, and he's got a bunch of information. He's bringing a lot to the table today.
Yeah, I think what happened there, I'm used to a certain way that things run or whatever, and here I am, a complete stranger. I roll up to your operation, and now I get my panties in a wad because the way you run things isn't how I think it should be run.
Which, by the way, it wasn't being run right because I didn't know.
It doesn't matter. The point is, I've done nothing to create this opportunity, but yet I'm criticizing you because I don't like the way you're doing it. And it was a bad moment for me, but I think it's a lesson in that, because just like you said, I was on your heart, the same thing with me. And God knows, man, in the world we live in today, bro, the things that's going down, for me to have some kind of contentious feeling in my heart, for something like that was stupid. And I went home. It took me about 3 days. It wouldn't leave me. It wouldn't leave me alone.
No doubt.
And I'm not a guy that likes to carry around stuff. And so I reached out to you and I was like, hey, man, I was a jerk. I was wrong. And my bad. And you were so cool. You were like, waiting for me.
Yeah, I was praying. I was praying. I'm like, Lord, if this guy's going to reach me out, man.
So the lesson is, from whichever side of the coin you want to look at, from my point of view, look, we're not always going to be at our best. We're not always going to have our best moment. We're not always going to behave the way that we would like to think we are. And when you have those moments, it's important to take time, reflect, understand what you did, and then be man enough to reach out and go, my bad.
Yeah, man, it was great.
And you were so cool to not hold it against me.
Man, I'm just tickled to death. Like I said, it's not about. For me, I don't have any kind of a status thing that I'm trying to work off of. I don't know the politics. There are passions of mine. One of them is stand-up comedy. One of them is podcasting. I just love to laugh. I grew up watching stand-up comics. And to be totally honest with you, it's obvious based on your resume, which we can talk about, it's obvious that you're funny. But being that I was on this new thing that to me is new as things, it's called Facebook, and I get to kind of like check out what's going on in people's minds, and I kind of saw what's going on in your life, and I also see the kind of people that you're working with, and I'm like, man, it just feels like this guy just kind of needs some kind of like a hug. That's all I wanted to do was like reach out, because I mean we could.
Yeah, I was going through some things.
Well, I mean,
yeah, that's true.
And the thing about it is here this guy is getting ready to like step off into the, I say when I was getting out of the corporate, tomorrow when I leave, it's like I'm jumping off the ship and I'm out in space and all I got is this cord.
Right.
And I'm turning around, yeah, fuck you. Yeah. And then as I get out there, I'm like, oh shit, now what? So I was thinking, I look at every comedian that I meet as these guys are getting ready to disappear on like this could be the next day, they could be hitting it big. And I didn't want you to leave without you at least realizing there was a little bit of this Southern hospitality, and and the thing is what I'm trying to do is develop a family of just loyal people that just got each other's back. And I said, man, this guy looks like a guy just based on you're a deep guy. So let's get into the depths of it.
So look, here's the thing.
Okay,
to close this up. We live in a country that's completely divided right now politically. We just had the Vegas situation.
Unbelievable.
Right? You know what I mean? Man, it's time, and this is a perfect example. It's time for people to put their differences aside. It's time for you to put your viewpoint aside. And first of all, you can have all the viewpoints that you want, but if you don't have the ability to speak to others in a way that influences them, your viewpoint is pointless. Right. And so this was an example of, I didn't handle myself right. I came to you. You didn't hold it against me. And we're cool.
It's so funny, too, because from perspective, I'm looking at it, man, I should have done this different, and I should have done that different. And so the reality of it is I think we both, from different perspectives, came away with a lot.
For sure.
So now the machine is running forward. We've been getting some good talent in at the show. That's a whole nother thing. If you're local and you want to come out and check us out, come out and check us out. There'll be all this information on the internet come January. This is being taped early. We're going to be launching soft launch. We're going to send you the link of everything you've got so that you can promote it for you. But then the actual show will be starting, like launching big in January. So I've got all this stuff planned between now and then to get all my ducks in a row, because we're going to do this ridiculous.
First of all, I didn't think you were for real. I didn't think you were for real at all, dude. And I gotta say, like, what you've done with this podcast, because I watched the one with Zenith Nevers. Fantastic. What a great guy.
Yeah, he's good people.
And but what you put together, and so I was like, oh yeah, I was wrong on that.
Oh man, I'm telling you what, it's so funny because it's like, when was the last time you met some crazy dudes? It's like, I'm gonna change the universe. Like, and I'm legitimately talking to these people, and they're all like, we want to change the universe too. And I'm like, oh shit, I better make a business card because I don't even have a business.
I'm down with that, man. I'm cool with that. I'm bipolar, so I'm like into that.
Well, we're all, the thing about it is it's so funny because, again, that's part of our notes over here. But one of the things we're going to be talking about is being bipolar. I'm bipolar.
Yeah.
Okay, guess what? We're all in the same clique, because here's the thing. Most blips in the universe are bipolar. And that's the thing that I am so magnetically
people in the Bible. But dude, you telling me you people that are into the Bible.
Come on.
And you go look at like Noah, who decided, or God inspired him to build an ark, and put 2 of every animal. And you tell me that dude ain't bipolar?
Mm-mm.
Come on, man.
That guy, he was building a boat in the middle of a place where there was no water.
Right.
Talking about rain.
Right.
And rain hadn't been invented yet, y'all. He said, water's going to fall out the ground. I said, what the hell are you talking about?
Anyway, we should probably get some comedy stuff, because
Right, we're gonna pass the offering plate when we're done with this conversation. Right. But actually, okay, so let's before we get into the deep stuff, let's talk about Dale.
All right,
tell me. Okay, now here's the funny thing: all the comedians that I reach out to, I do not know their acts. I refuse to watch them. I want to see. I swear to God, I want to see them.
Because I seen you, I was like, dude, I got stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't care. I want to see it for the first time on my stage because it's like a baptism of the stage. This stage don't even know what's hitting it, bro. Right. So the thing is tell me about Dale. Tell me about what's going on with your act as far as, is there a theme?
Okay, so my name is Eric Dowis, and but I also have this this stage name, this stage persona that's Dale. And what's really confusing is that I don't always. It's not like every time I go on stage I'm Dale. So what happened was
bipolar.
Yeah. Exactly. Even when I'm Eric Dowis, I can be two different people. So I came up on cruise ships, right? And I guess we'll get into this, but my journey into comedy is completely different than just about anybody else in the world. And but I came up on cruise ships, and I got to be a cruise director on a major cruise line. And so in one hand, as a cruise director, you're supposed to be in charge. You're you're the guy that has all the information. God forbid some emergency happens, you're the guy that's going to lead the people, get them where they're supposed to go, whatever. So you can't be doing a lot of dumb stuff,
right?
Well, the way that I write comedy is not the most cerebral. My comedy is kind of every guy comedy, very observational, but almost from a slower guy's point of view, So I had to come up with almost with like an alter ego, because it wouldn't work. Oh, here's this guy that in one case is in charge and got everything going on, but now he's doing this kind of lowbrow humor. It wouldn't fly.
So based on the hat and the flannel, I'm assuming it's redneck humor, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all about politically incorrect bullshit around here.
It's kind of like. It's compared to Larry the Cable Guy. It's a smarter version of Larry the Cable Guy, I would say. And funny enough, Dale existed before Larry the Cable Guy did. He just did a lot better job with it, apparently.
Right. Well, that story too is a grind. I remembered him when I used to listen to 104.1 back in the day when it was real radio, the Monsters. But back in the day when they were like on the night shift, even when it was Russ Bowe and Dirty Jim, and he used to do that little snippet, and that's how he got. But you know. So you have an alter ego. Your comedy's kind of a lowbrow thing. So let's transition now, because it's obvious. You can check him out online. You can see his stuff, and he's not a hit because he's a slacker. So let's transition to how you got into comedy, because this is the stuff from my I try to say that I didn't come into this to be funny. I actually came in because my podcast gurus are all comedians. Okay. So I said, well, I got good observations. I got great stories. So I learned timing, and I was getting ready for this. This is really my baby. But the thing is I'm also jokingly says I was, my father's Cuban and my mother's German. So I automatically, before too long, I start absorbing the business aspects of things, and that's where I kind of looked at it as wow, as a promoter, and then the stories of how people get into comedy fascinates me, because I believe there's a lot of people in this universe that are going, man, I wish I could get into it, but I don't know how. And depending on if they make the mistake and maybe don't have the thick enough skin to go into the wrong section and be treated in a way, like with the millennials, the way it's almost like they're like a different kind of pack, like a dingo pack or something, and they do their thing, and you got to kind of know what you're getting into. So now I want to hear about it from this guy's perspective, because Zenith Nevers almost got killed in a motorcycle accident, was born.
I know, right? And the dude's doing so many. You got if you haven't seen the podcast, you got to go back and watch it, because all the stuff you guys talked about with comedy is fantastic, but what he does beyond that,
no doubt,
what he does with his charity, and he's got the rest of us sit back and go, oh yeah, one day when I get big, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. He ain't waiting there. He's doing it now. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's such an inspiration. I love that guy. Okay, so how I got into comedy is completely different. So I started on cruise ships, right? And so when I was on cruise ships, we would have these game shows or different things. There were opportunities where comedy was needed, and in most cases, you you took what was handed down. Somebody else 100 years ago created some bit that you did in this game show, and it just gets passed down and passed down and passed down, right? And it occurred to me that so many of the guests that travel on cruise ships come back. And so we're doing these different game shows and these different things, and they're seeing the same thing, regardless of what ship they've been on and that sort of thing. And I'm like, somebody should take some time to write some original material so these people experience something different.
Right.
And so that's what I started doing. And the more I did it and people liked it, and it kind of worked out, but I'm doing this in front of an audience of 2,000 people.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so those were my open mics.
Nice.
So it's crazy. Like, I cut my chops in front of anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people at a time, instead of the typical open mic with 4 people plus the comics, or or whatever. And I got spoiled, dude.
I bet.
Oh, you know what I mean? And there's pros and cons to each one, but so I'm doing that. Well, then next thing that happens is I become cruise director, and so now every night I'm going out and introducing a show. Well, it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like the late shows, like Kimmel or these guys, whatever.
I'm thinking Carson. That's my old ass.
So, yeah, right.
I was immediately thinking.
So you go out and you do a monologue.
Beautiful.
Now, in keeping with time, my monologue might be 5 minutes, right? So every night I wrote a monologue, and I would go out and do it similar to the shows, and I loved it, dude.
Wow.
And I mean, dude, you get 2,000 people.
Yeah. When they're cheering
or laughing or whatever.
I get 60 people and I'm juiced.
Like,
yeah.
So it's just addictive. And so fast forward a couple of years later, then Dancing with the Stars, right? They come on and they do a Dancing with the Stars at sea. So the stars from the show, Derek Huff, some of the other ones that the name escaped. The problem is I never watched the show.
Right.
So we've got all these huge celebrities, Joey Fatone.
Right.
From
I love Joey Fatone. You live in this Florida, bitch.
Right.
Holla at a brother. You're one of my shout outs.
So Joey, Derek, all the folks from the show are there. I don't know any of them. So like, I should have been starstruck, but because I didn't know them, like, I was like, "You're just a."
I can relate. I can relate.
But they were so cool, man.
Yeah.
They didn't have zero egos, right? So anyway, they brought on their own host. So as cruise director, I didn't have anything to do. So they said, "Hey, why don't you be a judge?" So it's like me, Derek Huff, Shauna Burgess, gorgeous Shauna Burgess. Oh.
Gorgeous Shauna Burgess. Shout out Shauna Burgess.
She's a great boyfriend, but
shout out Shauna Burgess' boyfriend.
Yeah, right. I'm sure she's sitting at home right now thinking about me too. So anyway, so it's the 3 of us being the judges, for these dance routines, whatever. Well, I don't know anything about dance, so I just started being funny. I'm just like making fun of them, making fun of everything. Nothing was off limits, right? And people saw that. Well, next thing you know, my personal email and my Facebook and everything starts blowing up, and I started getting gigs. In fact, I got the first paid job that I ever got was a corporate gig for an engineering firm in Oklahoma City, because the booker was on that cruise with the Dancing with the Stars. She saw me. She thought it was fantastic. She says, "We want you to do headline our Christmas show." I'm like, I'm not a comic. That's not what I do. And she's like, "I don't want to hear that. You're so perfect. Funny. This is what I want."
How many times have I heard that story where they're like, "No, I don't want it," and then they force it on you?
I literally tried to talk her out of it. Then she says, "What would your rate be?" My rate?
Right.
What do you mean I don't know, $50? I don't know what. She's like, "No, your rate." She said your rate is $3,000. Okay, plus airfare, plus the hotel, plus all this other stuff, right? Whatever. And so I go there, and luckily I had like 6 months to prepare for this. I guess I did a really good job. Got a standing ovation. She said this was the best show that we've had, and the guy that did it last time was one of the finalists in America's Got Talent.
And that's something.
And she ended up giving me a $2,000 tip.
$2,000 tip.
I walked out with $5,000.
Right.
And I didn't even have a show. I had nothing.
That's awesome. That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen.
And so I guess at that point I was like, okay, I'm a comedian. This works well.
And how long ago was that?
Oh man, that was probably 7 years ago.
So you've been full time doing this now 7 years?
No. So I did that, but then I stayed on the cruise ships. But then what I would do, so the way cruise ships work is you do like 3 or 4 months at a time, and then you go home for 2 or 3 months or whatever. So in those 2 or 3 months, then I would start to pick up some little shows, nothing like that, but like the VFW or whatever. But still, I hadn't done an open mic, and so I just kind of kept going with that. Well, then I met my soon-to-be wife, right? She's a vocalist on the ship. So I had this, I had created a show on the ship, which was a question, and it was disguised as a question and answer session. It really was a comedy show. Well, people found out that I was dating the lead singer in the production shows, so they want her to come in. Well, next thing you know, she's singing some songs. Well, that's how this whole thing kind of evolved. Well, that turned into the show that we tour with, called Red Hot and Blue Collar. Okay. And so it's a variety show featuring her on vocals and me doing comedy. The idea is that I'm her sound guy, and that I'm constantly trying to inject myself into the show. So it's her show, but her sound guy, who's on stage where people can see, is constantly trying to interrupt and get in, and that's how we intertwine the comedy into it. So we get an invitation from an agent to come down and showcase in Florida, and we come down and just, we don't really think anything about it. We do a 15-minute showcase. We get back home to Arkansas, which is where we lived at the time. The agent's on the phone with us. She's like, I just signed 30 contracts for you. The average contract for a typical entertainer here is about 10. With 5 showcases. We did one, we signed 30. She's like, can you come back to the other showcases? We ended up doing 100 shows, booking 100 shows our first season. We broke the record for the agency. Wow. So this is our 3rd year doing that, and we're divorced, but we're cool. We're still together as far as the show goes. This will be our 3rd year. And so what's cool about that is that we work from like November to April. Wow. Do anywhere from 70 to 100 shows, and that pays for the year, man.
And I just got you right before you about to bounce, huh? I mean, you're leaving like next month.
No, I don't leave. We do it here in Florida. Oh, yeah. It's.
I'm for some reason imagining a tour like where you're traveling.
No. We do. We do some shows throughout the country, but the majority of our work is right here in Florida.
I'll be damned.
So we just picked a spot when we moved down here. We just picked a spot that was centrally located, which turned out to be kind of the Orlando area. And so, we'll travel to a place, Fort Myers or wherever, and then drive back home. And these people are paying us more than I would make doing an improv as a headliner for a week.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we book 5 or 6 of these a week,
See, I just love the different directions. I just love the story, the behind the scenes. It's going to become an old story, but when my father came to this country, when he was a young man, he bought a piece of property, built a house. When he went to sell the house, there was a big controversy because he didn't know you had to be 18 to sell the house. Oh, wow. So he was 17 years old.
So this dude's doing it before he's 18.
Right. That's my story.
Because nobody told him he couldn't.
Correct. Right. So he had no idea. He's like, so he had to, the joke was you had to wait 3 weeks to buy a house from Al. Right. So that's what ended up being the premise is like to see this. Like, you don't hear these stories.
Well, the key in that is that if no one tells you can't.
Exactly.
Then you just go do it, right?
Absolutely.
Like for instance, on the Orlando comedy scene Facebook group community, right? That Adam Avedable runs, and I love Adam.
Shout out Adam Avedable.
And he's got at least he used to have his topic that was pinned up at the top was about, what do you have to do to become a headliner? And you have to do so much time as this, and so much time as this, so much time as this, and which theoretically I don't disagree with him. The problem was, I didn't know that. Right. No one told me that.
Exactly.
So I skipped all that.
Right.
You know?
Well, the premise of my now successful room, as far as I'm concerned, because we're seeing the art unveiled every week, it's because I didn't want to drive to Orlando to do an open mic. I didn't want to wait 2 hours to do 5 minutes. Right? So I made my own mic. And then I find out that artists that are on the next level, they don't really want 5 minutes. They need to kind of flex their stuff. So I was like, come out and flex your stuff. Yeah. You know?
And listen, if I can say anything to people that are getting into it or just starting out or whatever, you know, there was a time when the typical club, I'm going to go to the clubs like, you know, the Comedy Store in LA and the Laugh Factory, and I've done both those. That was the path or whatever. Yeah, that was great in the 70s and the 80s and maybe the early 90s. Right. But that's antiquated now, man.
No doubt.
If that's what you're trying to do, I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's smarter ways to go about it.
Well, I'm looking at and again, because I don't know, I'm just going to rent a room that has a bar in it and have a show.
Right.
I mean, and what I'm actually doing,
and you're cutting the club owner and all that out.
Right. And then my blueprint, which is not even all that amazing, is look, let's do it where there's an X amount of dollars, comes with a 2-drink minimum. We split the door, and I'll fill it.
It's business.
And the thing is like my goal, because I live in the villages, and my goal is to be in the villages by 2019.
Right.
So I'm surrounding them, like with the bars that I'm choosing, is surrounding the villages so that the buzz will eventually where I can get in. Because my goal is a black tie event with blue collar comics, with blue material comics, but in the Sharon or at the Savannah Center, which are both 1,500 seat top shelf places. And the thing about it is I don't know why we couldn't do it.
There's no reason.
You just rent the room. It's a big ass fucking room. It's very expensive, but we couldn't.
Yeah, but it's never been done.
Right.
Well, perfect.
Right.
Sign me up.
Exactly.
You know, it's like me. Like, and don't get me wrong. I appreciate the people at the improvs or the various comedy. I'm not trying to dog them, man, because you know they provide opportunities for people, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And so, you know, and especially you start looking at comedy, like, why the hell do I want to drive to Mobile for a one-nighter to pick up $200? I'm going to spend that much in gas by the time I get there.
When I found out how much, like, you know, because again, it's like echelon. So there's an echelon before you go to the improv, and when I found out what that level gets paid, it's pretty horrible.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're really basically getting paid gas money for whatever exposure, but I mean, I don't know what the exposure is when you have 5 people in the room and how come microphones don't ever work at these places? I'd be like, I'm like, holy shit, I'm at the improv. Why do I have the worst microphone in the building?
Right.
Just because it's the open mic side?
And then, and then don't even get started on the freaking accommodations. I mean, most of these places, you're staying in roach motels and whatever the last dude did in the bed, you're living with.
Listen, man, I also drive Uber and Lyft because, again, if I'm driving all the way to Orlando, I'm going to go ahead and make a little money while I'm out there to pay for my expenses. And
that's the immigrant in you.
It is.
Seriously, man. Immigrants know how to squeeze every dime out of something.
Let me tell you something. Zenith Nevers, Cuban dude, right? And I'm like, give me your magical inspiration. What is the thing you have to be in order to be funny? He says, work ethic. You have to have a diamond-shaped or work ethic. And I'm like, you are so fucking Cuban. I swear you sound like my dad, you know? But the thing about it is I picked this comic up in this shady-ass place in downtown Orlando, and he did not look like he belonged there. He's getting in the car, and I'm like, dude, get in. Hurry up, you know? And we're leaving, and I go, so what do you do? I'm a stand-up comic. And that's when I started talking about the podcast, because this was before I even started open micing. But the point was, yeah, the accommodation sucked where he was. I'll tell you that right now.
If you're starting comedy today, and you're only doing the traditional, okay, I'm going to do the open mics, and then I'm going to try and get good enough to go do a comedy club. You know, it's so tired, man. I'm not telling you not to do it, but find other avenues. Create your own thing. You know what? Now I'm lucky. I mean, I've been financially successful, so I have the funds to do it. But like, before I'll try and worry about being a headliner at the Improv or whatever, I'm going to go book my own theater.
No doubt.
I'm going to go book, these theaters, and every small community has its little theater that holds 500 or 1,000, whatever.
No doubt.
Dude, be a businessman. Book it up.
So part of the charm of this show is that it is just real people trying to do some shit. And my sound guy suggested I put a light up there, but I don't see shit. So hold on. Who are you Yeah, right. Now the sound guy's holding my hand.
It's like we're at a Skinner concert.
Who are your inspirations? Yeah. I have some questions, and we're rolling through them beautifully. But at the same time, I'm like, God, I can't see shit. I need glasses.
Yeah, no problem. I'm probably talking too long.
No, you're doing fine, man. No, we're beautiful. Okay. Beautiful.
All right. Sorry.
Yes.
Influences. Man, my influences. People watching this aren't gonna have a fucking clue who I'm talking about, bro.
You'd be surprised because I'm going after a different demographic.
Oh, they'll know this. they'll know this. Andy Griffith, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, a lot of people don't know Andy Griffith was a comedian, right? He did the Andy Griffith Show. But he was a comic, and dude, some of his stuff. If you've never heard, you Google, look up Andy Griffith, Romeo and Juliet. Okay. So what he would do is he would take these traditional stories like Shakespeare or whatever, but he would put it in a
Mayberry
down home Mayberry kind of way of doing it. Oh my God, man, hilarious! Today would stand up today,
no doubt,
right?
No doubt.
Look up the Romeo and Juliet and look up football. So he describes going to watch a football game, and it's just
diamond,
squeaky clean.
Yeah,
squeaky clean, hilarious, man.
Yeah,
hilarious. So I like people like that, but as far as more contemporary people, I love this guy. I just found him about a year ago, Sebastian.
Oh yeah, Maniscalco. Damn right. Sanka.
I tend to be drawn to people that do things that are different from me. I look at him, and when I first watch him, I'm like, man, I could never do what he's doing. But then what I'll find is that as I'm working my material out, I try to push myself, not to be him.
Right. You're inspired by his.
He's very physical. Right. Oh man, Brian Regan.
Oh, my amazing
God.
comic.
Let me tell you something. If you're getting into comedy and you don't know Brian Regan, you're behind the eight ball.
Right.
Dude, squeaky clean.
Right.
Hilarious. Would go and this. Oh, this is another thing that pisses me off.
Come on.
These people that say, well, I'm clean, so I can't follow someone who does.
I got an ear beating about that.
Then you're not funny, dude.
And the thing about it is he's not a clean comic. He didn't want a dirty comic in front of him.
Sorry.
I was like,
I'm pretty much clean.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, especially in the shows that I do in the communities and stuff like that. Sure. But even at the Improv, like on my website, my promo clip from the Improv is PG at the most, right? Dude, you don't think... And so that clip actually came from a Ken Plus 10. Ken Miller put me up, and I was like one of the only white dudes there first. So it was like Def Comedy Jam, and fuck this, and fuck. And I go up there, fuck kill, man.
Yeah.
Kill. Didn't get dirty at all. Funny's funny, man. Stop making excuses for why you're not funny.
No doubt.
Just do your thing. If you're legit and you're true and people connect with you and your stuff's funny, it doesn't matter.
Like for me, it's like it takes me aback when somebody has a problem with anything. It's like, why do you have a problem with anything? But then again, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm so cool and I'm so earthy and all that bullshit, because I have a short fuse just like everybody else. But in a situation where, especially when you're fixing to go and do something that you're under your own personal pressure, and that might be it too, I mean, I don't know what's going on in their heads, but I got an ear beaten because I brought...
Now, I will say this. There are physical things in the room that can create a problem.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, so if I'm on stage trying to do a show, but the football game is on over here, I mean, basically, what you want people focused on you.
No doubt.
So if there's all these other things going on, distracting, it's like trying to do comedy outdoors. And I'm not saying that's impossible, but I've done that once or twice.
I saw that Facebook you had not too long ago where the tree was in the way of the stage.
Oh my God! Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did comedy behind a palm tree.
To take it back a notch, that was right after that situation. And I'm like, that fucking place ain't any better than mine. Right. I'm like, that fucking tree's in the way.
Yeah, he did. I'm like trying to look between the leaves.
That is hilarious. I love it. And I love those stories too. I love them.
But you work through it or whatever, right? But so I will say, you want to be in a situation where you're the focal point and I mean, you can't talk to people if you don't have their attention, right?
No doubt.
And that's what we're trying to have a conversation with people. But as far as the guy that went before me didn't, dude, that has nothing to do with you, man.
Nothing to do with
Suck it up. If you're funny, you're funny.
I just feel like there's a boundary. It's your moment. And you have to take control of that moment. And,
right.
And I say this, and I'm not a trained comic. I just do, but I'm getting good stuff. I'm getting gigs, but I'm trying to think of it from a different perspective because I'm more interested in meeting the owner of the bar and the promoters that are in there.
Right.
But I'm still doing what I got to do. And I mean, I'm killing where I'm going. But again, like you, it's like I have no like format, style, and a lot of it, I have some shit that I know works, and a lot of it's just me improvising some pepper and salt in between.
Stop blaming other people for your problems.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
Unless the room's not set up for. Now, I will say this: another place that I walked out of, talking about what you and I dealt with. I drove all the way to freaking Flagler Beach, north of Daytona, right? And went up there and did one of the shows. They had scheduled a poker tournament, so the whole room was people playing poker, right? Nobody there for the comedy except for the 10 people that showed up to do the comedy.
Right.
And in fact, and I'm talking about right next to the stage, and they're irritated because you're making it hard for them to hear what's going on. Right. And, I had invested quite a bit of time to get up there, and I went on stage. Jared Scott was up there with me. I don't know if you know Jared
Shout out Jared Scott. I know Jared Scott.
So he was up there with me. Now, we didn't go together, but we just ended up there together. And he's a new guy, and I admire his stage presence.
He's coming on soon. So we've talked.
So Jerry goes up, and like a new guy should. He just deals with it, right? Whatever, right? And so me, Mr. You don't know who the hell I am. I get up there and I do like one joke and nobody even pays attention. And I'm like, all right, thank you very much. Bye.
That's my time.
I did 45 seconds and peace, But I don't know.
I love it.
I should have stuck it out. But anyway, you got to stop blaming other people. I don't want to hear this. Well, he did. Nah. Just go do your stuff, man. Work through it.
Okay, so let's see what this next one says. Outside of laughter and what else?
I don't know if you're having trouble reading or you can't see.
Okay, what else? I know the camera's in the way and I can't see.
Outside of laughter,
what else would you like to accomplish with your comedy?
With your comedy.
Okay, outside of laughter, what else would you like to accomplish with your comedy? Another influence that I didn't get to, Carlin, George Carlin. Now, here's an interesting thing, if I could talk. I almost think Carlin's not a comedian.
Right.
Now, certainly he is. But you watch a Carlin show from back in the day, dude. There's times 10 minutes goes by and there's no laughter,
right?
But you're invested,
right? No doubt.
You are on the edge of your seat, and you're like, because he goes in, he establishes himself. Okay, I'm funny, la la la. But he was a philosopher, right? And he had some very specific thoughts on society and different things that were going on and how people were being taken advantage of. And I just admire that. Even whether I agree with everything that he said or not, it has nothing to do with it.
No doubt.
The fact that he found a way through this art form to present things that were important to him, to find that voice, and I'm certain that he influenced people, right? And so that's something that I would like to do,
right?
And initially my comedy had nothing to do with that, and I'm starting to get there a little bit. Sure. I have to be very careful in the market that I entertain. Because traditionally you don't get into politics or any of these divisive things like that. But it's not that my thing is, it's not that I want to perpetuate my perspective or my feelings on people. I just want to create dialogue.
Right.
That's all. I don't care what your position is and what my position is. I just think right now we're in a place in the country where everybody's yelling and nobody's listening.
Right.
So there's no way to find common ground. And if I could for just a second.
Please.
When I worked on cruise ships, dude, you talk about the biggest multicultural environment, compressed multicultural environment you can imagine. I mean, I was a minority everywhere I worked, and most of the employees that were on the ships were Indonesian, which are Muslim, and then after that was Filipino, and then after that was just a mix of Europeans and a few Americans and a few Canadians and whatever. And it wasn't like, oh, I live in a multicultural environment. When I go to the grocery store, I hear a lady talking Spanish. No, I'm talking about live, work, play 24/7, period, right?
You walking down there, they might have chickens and blankets float over the side.
Bro.
I'm with you, bro.
And I mean, we never had a problem.
Of course.
And you know why? Because we never looked at anybody as part of a group.
Right.
Because we had to interact personally. We got to know each other personally. So if I had a problem with you, it's because I had a problem with you.
Right.
Not what you stood for, or what you belonged to, or anything like that. And, here I am. I grew up Southern Baptist. I later became atheist, and now I've kind of reconnected with God in my own way. But through that whole journey, I'm working with Muslims, man. And, we get to Ramadan, and their sacred holidays and stuff. I'm volunteering to help them accomplish what they need to. And anytime there was an Independence Day, Filipino Independence Day, Indonesian Independence Day, the U.S. Independence, everybody's involved.
Right.
Everybody comes together. There were literally no dividing lines. And I'm like, if we can do this in this, it can be done. It can be done. But
sadly, Eric, I think the biggest problem with why it can't be done is because we're too comfortable. We're too, I have a bit that I work on where it says, I can't be outraged. I don't have time. The electric bills do. When you have a boat full of people that are there to earn a living, and they're earning their living, we don't have time to worry about, and the state of affairs that's going on in the world. That's one of the reasons why I want this podcast to do what it's going to do, because I want to try to shine a light through all this bullshit. There's so much distraction going on right now. There's so much, misplaced hate and misplaced, it just floors me how the people that the one protest group that went against the another protest group were on their shirt was a sickle and a star, which represented a group that was more oppressive in history than the group that they were protesting.
And here's the big problem. Here's the biggest thing. Most of the people that are out there raging, whatever, it's not even original thought. They inherited what they believe. Just like I inherited being a Georgia Bulldog fan and Atlanta Falcon fan, right? I also inherited being a Southern Baptist, a Christian. I also inherited Republican, right-leaning politics.
No doubt.
Because that's the environment I was raised in. Now, at a certain point in time, I was able to go, wait a minute. I believe this because this is what I was taught to believe. Just like a computer, we can be programmed, right? And then I started to see other people who believed other things just as passionately as I did. Look, right or wrong, the dudes that drove the planes into the towers, they believed what the hell they were doing.
They were on a they were on a godly mission.
You believe what you're doing? No, I'm not. Obviously, that was a horrible thing.
No. It was their God, but I mean, they thought they were doing right.
We can be programmed, and you have to realize that. And so, some point in time, you have to say, just like I did. I grew up Southern Baptist until I was 20, and then I went, wait a minute. These are not my beliefs. This is what I inherited. This is what I was taught to believe. But it's not my belief, and I think my bipolar had something to do with that. And so I went on like a 12-year journey of figuring out what I believe. So now where I'm at today is truly where I've arrived at, and not what someone's handed to me. But we get beliefs in boxes. Here's your box of answers. If you're the left, you watch MSNBC. Here's your box of answers. If you're on the right, you watch Fox. Here's your box. We tune in to find out what we should feel. Nobody's thinking for theirself.
No doubt.
No one's tolerant of the other side enough to hear and listen, because look, like I said in the beginning, man, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what you feel. If you don't have the ability to influence other people, if you don't have the ability to make them believe that you're listening to and actually listen to them and understand what their position is, then you're just yelling. You're just yelling. And you know who pays the price? The kids. I sound like Stephen A.
It's the kids. It's for the kids.
Seriously, man. You want to talk about safe spaces and all this kind of stuff in the country. Every public school in this country should be a safe space.
No doubt.
Instead of all these signs and pickets that we're doing, blah, 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 blah. We should be down at the public school. All the at-risk public schools, there should be a multicultural coalition around the schools, and we should say, today our kids are getting education, and anybody that wants to stand in the way of that, fuck off.
Right.
Because that's the only answer. We're screwed, dude. Adults, there's no saving us. But if we can get the kids educated, every kid should have access to a high-level education, and there should be no challenges in that, and we should be steadfast in making sure that happens. Man, I just got on a political rant.
Get on it, man. That's why we're here. But here's the funny thing about it. These are the things that
If you can't agree with that, then come on.
These are the things I'm picking up. That multicultural, whatever you said, that sounded really impressive. This great new idea was what was in the public schools all the way up till very recently. They were free. You could go play basketball after school. You could get on the football team. The football team costs $1,000 a year on average. So for a public school kid who comes up from the low end of the town where I'm from anyways, it's a struggle. My daughters went to a very, very high-end school. I made them a deal. I'll support you 100% on the least expensive thing because I don't have, man, over there.
You're on the jump rope team.
Right. Well, you know what's funny?
Double Dutch.
One was on the choir. I'm like, competitive choir, got a full scholarship to Stetson with it.
Nice.
University in DeLand. Shout out Stetson. Y'all are expensive as fuck. And the other one,
She got a full scholarship. What are you talking about, dude?
I don't give a damn, y'all. And then the second one went and got dual enrollment and went in and captain of the color guard and got a full ride to Flagler. So the thing but the deal was I can't afford it. I can't afford it.
Right.
So the cheerleading was like $3,000 a year.
Right.
I can't afford it.
Right.
So, and this doesn't have a bus program. What the fuck? My kids didn't know what it was like to ride a bus. I sure wish they did. But the thing is, and then the other thing I think is funny is, see, I was raised fundamental independent Baptist. We took all the fun out of it, and we had a great life. My kids were raised in the church. We did good. But the thing is and my one of the themes is I had a list of things that I was afraid of. Black people, gangs, music, Muslims, Hindus, gays. We didn't have transgenders. They were just all one lump sum.
Right.
And then as I got older, I come to realize that when you shine the light on them and really talk to them, they're really not that scary. And a lot of them have stronger work ethic and stronger family values than some of the Christians I know.
That's the problem. We don't interact with these people.
No doubt.
We have these ideas, this prejudice, these ideas that have been forced on us. And we don't actually know. We're spouting opinions about people we haven't even met.
That's right.
I'm in Arkansas, dude. I'm riding down the road. On the corner is a anti-gay. The parents got the signs and with some pretty rough stuff, on the signs. I won't say it here. And they got the 8-year-old kids out there, man. And I'm like, you ain't even met a gay person. Are you kidding me?
I know. It's crazy.
Like. At some point in time, and I don't care what your viewpoint is, but at some point in time, you've got to expand. You've got to at least know what you're against. At least know what you're standing up. What you're against. Whatever. And even in my comedy, I've started doing it. Because I still have some pretty conservative ideas. Mm-hmm. But in my comedy, I've found ways to say, you know what? Even if I don't agree with you, we're cool. Right. And I'm going to make fun of some of the reasons why I was initially let,
Right, no
you
doubt.
got to have a laugh at yourself
No
or whatever.
doubt.
And we don't all have to agree, but we all have to come together at some point. So
no doubt.
Anyway, this turned into...
No, this is exactly what it is. It's a conversation. I don't care about the comedy. We know you're funny. I want to get it all in them layers and see what's going on because people are going to get moved by this and somebody's going to get their life changed from this. And we're getting you riled up before the show.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's discuss being bipolar. You're diagnosed bipolar.
Yeah.
And how does that affect you from day to day?
Man, every day is a challenge.
So, I know bipolar. Yeah. So, on the scale of bipolar, are you mid-grade, maybe a third of the way up? I feel like you're a third of the way up. I'm just under a third. But I've been to a wedding where the dude was redlining, and that ain't... I don't even know if you're capable of what I saw that day.
Here's the thing. It's no 2 days are the same.
True.
So, if you ask me now where I'm at, well, I'm cool, man. But tomorrow, what I've learned is there's no momentum, at least for me, with dealing with mental health and being bipolar. Just because today was a great day, when I wake up tomorrow, I have no idea what's in store. And it doesn't mean I'm crazy or anything like that, but just for an example, like I can think today, oh man, I got this great idea, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to execute like you do. I'm going to put together a podcast, and I'm going to do this kind of stuff, whatever, right? And I'm all into it, and oh man, this is going to be great. Then I wake up tomorrow, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? That was the worst idea I could ever think of. Then I wake up the next day, I'm like, oh no, that was a good idea. That was, and then the next. So I'm like, you can get caught in this cycle where you don't go anywhere because you're constantly yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So for me, and this, in a way, this is going to tie back into the political stuff.
Come on with it.
I find that, unfortunately, everybody is looking for a way to be a victim. Period. And it's sold. Every media outlet that you tune into, they're going to tell you how somehow you've been victimized, you've been marginalized, and unfortunately, the people that seem to be looking out for your best interest are actually using you, in my opinion. So mental health is no different. When I was institutionalized when I was 20 years old, like legit serious, for a couple of weeks, and when I went in, these doctors came to me and they gave me all these labels. Now, at that time, they didn't. I don't even know if bipolar was a thing. Like, I was labeled all these other things.
How old are you?
I'm 44.
Yeah, it was probably shortly after.
So because for a long time it was called manic depressive, whatever. But even then, I don't even think that they just thought I was depressed.
Right.
And so I ended up on all these antidepressants, which actually for a bipolar person can be even more problematic. But what I saw was, and I have other people in my family who have suffered with this, and they've taken a different route. But I saw people that decided, okay, I have this label, whatever it is, and that's going to define me, and that means I no longer have to have the same expectation level of myself.
That's right. You are hitting it so on the head.
So, and I even, for like a month, bought into that. Like I would go to job interviews, and they would ask me, like you would have to do some math questions or whatever, and I'd be like, no, I have a mental health issue, I don't have to do this, or whatever, whatever. And that's how stupid it was.
Unfortunately, now they probably get the job because of it.
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
And so, but here's what happened. I started looking around, and I was like, I want to have a nice house, and I want to drive a nice car, and I'd like to be able to attract a nice young lady, who has things going on in her life or whatever. So if I just buy into these labels, not that they're not legit, but if I let this define me and I lower the expectation level that I have on myself, I can't go to the bank and say, oh no, I don't have a job, but I'm bipolar, so I need the bipolar loan. Send me to the bipolar loan department. No, they don't have that. So what happens is you don't have those things. Well, that doesn't work for me because I'm pretty materialistic. Exactly. And
you're so vain.
And so I just decided, man, like whatever I have to do, I got to get over it, because or not get over it, because you can't, but you got to learn ways to harness it, and you got to learn ways to overcome it.
That's right.
So that you can still go out and do the things that you need to do. Conversely, I think being bipolar has helped me a lot.
No doubt.
Creatively,
no doubt.
I think I'm far more creative because I'm bipolar, and as long as I continue to execute that creative outlet, it really helps to keep things moderated. My goal is to take as little medication as possible, because so many of the medications you can take, they work, but they turn you into like a zombie. Like you don't feel anything. Right. Well, that's not living. Right. So I want to find a way to live with being bipolar, but still have a quality of life. And so for me, I've really dug deep, and I've found, exercise is a big part of my life.
Absolutely.
Creativity is a big part of my life. Making sure I do what I have to do to get sleep. I have to remove triggers in my life, and since I'm interested in politics, that means sometimes I have to turn the TV off and different things like that. There are things that I can do holistically to manage my condition. I'll never be without medication, but I can do things that really reduces the amount of medication I have, so that I can live more of a normal life. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Whether you're talking about mental health, whether you're talking about the color of your skin, whether you're talking about whatever it is. There's a group of people that are happy to sell you victimization, and you have a choice, and that choice is, am I going to be a victim, or am I going to do whatever it takes to overcome the challenges that I'm faced with?
Awesome. Before I get into the next question, there was something that I didn't see up there, but I wanted to talk to you about because I'm very interested in it.
All right, bro.
You mentioned having an agent. So expound on that, because that's something that I never heard until you sent it to me, as a topic, as something that you have some interest in. So let me hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so obviously, as I told my story about how I got into it, I didn't have an agent. I'm doing corporate work. In fact, that first job that I did for the engineers in Oklahoma, and first of all, talk about a dichotomy, like my humor being that not so cerebral, and my first job is to entertain a group of engineers.
Right.
Like, talk about intimidating.
In the middle of effing nowhere, it sounds like, too. Where was it?
No, Oklahoma City.
Well, that, again, anything outside of Ocala, north of Ocala, to me, it sounds like a weird place in the universe, weird place in the country.
But they were so cool, man. They were great. But so, I'm accomplishing things. I'm just dumb. It's just dumb luck, right?
Right.
Nobody told me I couldn't do it. Nobody told me, no, you can't get a corporate gig without an agent. So I got a corporate gig without an agent, right? And several since then. In fact, I'm leaving on the 13th. I'm flying to Cancun, and I'm doing a corporate gig for a week down in Cancun.
It's a tough life.
No agent,
Eric Dowis, international comedian.
Right. So, but a lot of it's connections, right?
Sure.
A lot of it, and let me tell you something.
Network.
The world runs on relationships.
No doubt.
And don't take for granted. And I don't care. Like in my position on cruise ships, say I was cruise director, which was pretty high in the rank. But you don't know what this guy way down here. You don't know 20 years where that dude's going to be. So you treat everybody with respect.
Everybody.
And every connection is a possibility, right?
Absolutely.
So and that's the way it's worked in my life. So anyway, I've gotten a lot of work without an agent. Having said that, when we came down to Florida with my wife at the time, doing our show, we met an agent, and she gave us an opportunity to showcase one opportunity. And that's another thing. It's kind of like the Eminem song where he talks about in 8 Mile, like you're going to get one shot.
One shot.
And you got to make the most of it. And so we did. And so we got picked up by an agent. But that's specifically for shows here in Florida at the communities like the Villages or Sun City or different things like that. And so then I'm grinding and doing my thing, and then an entertainer who's a very good friend of mine from cruise ships, who we used to collaborate, and he would, even though I was cruise director, he would include me in some of his shows, and we'd do some cool things, whatever. Well, he's having drinks one night with some guys who happen to work at an agency. My name comes up. Next thing you know, these guys are calling me, hey, we've heard about you, man. And so now I'm signed by an agency in Vegas.
Because it's only they get a commission off of you?
Well, what happens is they, typically an agency will take a certain percentage, whether it's 10% or 12% or whatever.
Right. No, I understand. So I'm sorry. Do you come off pocket to hire these people, or it depends on? Okay, see, that's the part that's. Listen up, folks.
No.
You don't have any money in the game, and they'll get you money.
None. And any job they're going to get me is a job I wouldn't have had anyway.
Bam.
Right? And the other thing that's great about an agent, and even with our local agent. So, for example, I have communities now that will hear about us because we've, with our Red Hot and Blue Collar, we've generated quite a little bit of buzz locally, whatever. And so we'll have communities that will come to me directly and say, hey, we want to book you, whatever. No problem. Contact EDN. They're our agent. Well, here's why. Because they'll get more money than I could.
Right, exactly.
I'll sell myself short.
Yeah.
They know what the budgets are. And even with the part that the agent takes, I'm still going to... I've done that again. I'm still going to come out ahead, right? Plus, I don't want to sit there and type out contracts.
Right, let them handle all that.
I need to be creating, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So same thing with MMEC in Vegas. So they do a lot of work with cruise ships and that sort of thing, and so we've made a relationship, and so now I got the Southern Rock Cruise, which is not actually through a cruise line, but through the company that does the Southern Rock Cruise. So I get to open for like Leonard Skinner, bands like
Eric
that.
Dowis,
right?
folks.
And so,
Eric Dowis.
and here's the other thing: every job you get is an audition. Every job you get is an audition because you don't know who's in the audience. You don't know who's. So I'm going to go on this Southern Rock cruise, right? And I could be there like, oh yeah, look at me, I made it. No, I'm basically doing an audition at that point.
No doubt.
Because how many managers are going to be in that audience?
Right.
How many band members are going to be? Dude, maybe somebody sees me. Leonard Skinner says, dude, come on the road with us.
Sure. You never
Great.
know.
You know what?
You absolutely never know.
So everything is an audition.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, agents, man, if it, you don't have to have them, but
it seems like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
Seems like it's an easy win-win situation.
Right.
I'm assuming you have to have certain bones to bring a resume to the agency.
Yeah,
if
they're
they'll
not
put
gonna,
up with you.
Yeah, don't. If you're doing 5 minutes,
Right.
Don't try to reach out.
But at the same time, which this will be on the internet afterwards, I'm signed up for America's Got Talent November 15th.
Yeah.
No interest whatsoever. In fact, it would be a huge inconvenience if they wanted me to go west with them. But if I could just get that little box on YouTube, that's my only interest.
Right.
Because it would just be a way that,
Not only that, but what if you film the whole process?
That's what we're going to do. We're going to do a 2-day thing, and we're going to actually go and
what
attack.
it's like to go through that process.
So check this out, and then you got. Give me 2 minutes, and then you're going to give me your message to the universe because we're going to wrap this up.
Okay, cool.
So check this out. There's a place across the street from Old Town. I'll talk all my shit. Here's all my secrets because I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Across the street from Old Town, there's a place that has like 25 roach coaches. I'm sorry, guys. Dinner trucks, all 5-star. It's one of the other things besides comedy that I'm really interested in is the restaurant on wheels.
Right.
So I'm going to go there just to do a little vlog the night before we go to AGT. The joke is, as we're doing this, I'm going to take a 5-second or 7-second, whatever it is, video of each place, and then I'm going to throw together a GIF. I'm going to come back the next night because I have a 17-year-old introverted, awkward editor that's going to crunch the shit out all night without sleeping. And then I'm going to go back and be like, you want to buy it? $20. You can put it on Facebook right now.
Right.
And if I could get, if 25 of them, if 10 of them will sign me up,
dude.
I know, right? But that's big. That's Barbarian Productions.
I'm gonna do a Cuban joke tonight.
Come on with it. But Barbarian Productions, ooh, big production. Fuck that. We're just trying to make fast money, quick and easy, without killing ourselves, because that way we can pay for our little adventures. Right. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's how all this stuff's coming together. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up because this guy, big celebrity, he's gonna be on my. He's gonna be out to
Massive.
the tent, y'all.
Massive.
So what I like to do is I archive the messages to the universe. The idea is my guru, Joe Rogan, has been doing now over 1,000 podcasts.
I love Joe Rogan.
That's where it's all his fault.
But he's a problem for me because he gets into politics and then I get addicted. And next thing you know, I've watched 72 hours without sleeping.
He's changing the world, and I want to do. I'm the Southeast.
Legit. He's smart, dude.
He's brilliant.
You think he's a meathead, but he's smart.
That's the whole premise of the Articulate Barbarian.
Yeah.
I know I'm a meathead. But the thing is so the deal is somebody did a show, episode 2. You can go click on it right now.
All right.
100 years from now, if we're still around.
Yeah. I'm not
great,
gonna be 100 years
but
from
the
now.
great grandkids can look back and see
people in
what.
general.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing is I want to archive a message to the universe, something that you want to tell people, so that's it. And then now it's going to be historically documented in the old little Articulate Barbarian podcast, and it's just going to keep going.
Man.
But you're going to come back around. You can be like, oh, by the way, motherfucker, I'm going to add to that.
Now, is this comedy related?
No. It's just whatever's on your heart.
Oh, dude, I got this.
Come on, and you've got 15 minutes if you need it.
No, I don't even need it.
All right, just saying.
So, let me tell you one of the things. So, it's hard to find things in life that you can count on. And I was having this conversation with another comedian online who was going through some hard times, and he was having trouble with relationships and different things, and everything seemed to, the minute he would think that something's going to go good, there would be a hole in the basket, right? Mm-hmm. And the eggs would fall out. And so I shared with him something that I discovered a while back, and that is, as I go through my day, and there are times when I'm really naturally doing this, and there are times when I have to tell myself, you've got to do this, right?
Yep.
So as I go through my day, I actively search out opportunities to make people happy.
Great.
And it doesn't have to be on a grand scale. Like what Zenith Nevers is doing is massive and it's huge or whatever. But what I'm talking about is when you're at the grocery store, when you go up to the coffee shop, instead of seeing that person as just some random person behind the counter, they're a human being.
Right.
You know, and give them a smile and find something to. Golly, God, you got a great smile.
That's right.
You know, or whatever it is. You know, with guys, there was a guy a couple of nights ago, and this is a black guy, and he pulls up next to me in this truck, and he was really tricked out and all this kind of stuff, you know. And I'm like, man, nice truck, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't seem like much, and I shouldn't get a Nobel Prize for that or anything. But I firmly believe that every micro interaction that we have, like that, whether it's people that we're akin to or whether it's people who are different from us, whether they're race, religion, you know, XYZ, I think those personal connections are the only chance we have of being saved as a race. I think the digitalization of our society takes us away from that, you know. So if we can find opportunities to just, you know, I was born Southern, and by the way, for these people that think that their Southern heritage is wrapped up in a fucking flag,
No way.
fuck you.
Right.
Okay. I'm proud of being Southern. I don't need a goddamn that flag that's at 75 and 4, the massive Confederate. Oh, what a disgrace, dude! And here's the thing: I'm proud to be Southern. My Southern heritage is yes, ma'am, no, ma'am,
That's
yes, sir,
right.
no, sir. Let me get that door for you.
That's right.
Can I help you? That's what it means to be Southern to me.
That's right. And it means that a lot.
So, that whole thing is stupid. But anyway, we have to find ways to interact with each other and find ways to go out of our way to just make someone else's day. Find an opportunity to put someone ahead of you.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And very quickly, I'll just say one of the opportunities that I'm being offered right now is a pretty legit opportunity.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. No problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll just say it in this terms that. So I've been offered an opportunity to residency in Branson. Now, first of all, let me just say this: I get it. Branson's hokey, the whole thing, la 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 la, whatever. When you see the money that's involved, you're like, okay, never mind.
Right. Well, I mean,
But there's a time frame, right? And so they want me there fairly quickly.
Right.
But I have a business with my ex-wife.
That's correct.
We have contracts that taking us through the end of March. Now, I can legally cancel those contracts. I have a 30-day clause. So if I want to get out of those contracts, the ones that are 30 days away, I can do so. But is that the right thing to do?
Right.
Because it's not just about me.
Sure.
Right? So it's about her as well. And I just said, I'm happy to entertain the opportunity, but I won't be available until this time. Just because I can do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
So if I can say anything to the universe, man, it's try to be nice to people, find opportunities to put people ahead of yourself, and in time coming complete 360.
Come on.
In times when you don't do that, like the interaction that you and I had to begin with,
Right.
be man enough or be woman enough to go, my bad, I was out of line. Please forgive me, right?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our time because we've got a big show to crush out in our tent. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We out here. Love, peace, chicken grease. Eric Dowis, a.k.a. Dale. You'll be seeing him soon. We out.
Thank you.
My man.
Man, that was heavy, bro.
That's good shit.
God almighty.
That's good shit.
I didn't think we had that much in us.
See, the trick is this now. This is going to go out as an episode, and then we're going to do, you tease them with a 3.5, you get